Into the party on Broad. I am Freddie Birds with Rob Lange, whose name I have gotten wrong every single week. It was just brought to my attention. I apologize to Rob. Sorry about that.
All good.
Chris Giannis and Ryan Reese. We are party on Broad, baby, and it's Eagles centered. I don't have to be drugged down by the Sixers talk. We're going to get into the Browns Eagles quickly, takeaways from that game, and we're 6 days out from final cuts. So we're each going to take a roster position and say how we think it's going to pan out. And then also, we can't forget preseason tomorrow night. Colts, Eagles preview. We're going to give you a player that's on the bubble, along with our player of the game and predictions as well. But before we get to that, I just want to thank our amazing sponsors. First, the Cherry Law Firm, David R. Cherry, Sherry'sTickets.com, and Philly sportstrips.com as well. We'll get into them individually as the show goes on, but they are our amazing sponsors. Let's kick this off. Eagles Browns last preseason game, 18-18, ended in a tie. It was so boring, especially the first half. Second half picked up a little bit. The Eagles opened up the second half, 32-yard run from Trey Sermon, redeeming his fumble from earlier. Browns come back, score, and it ends up coming down to the wire. Cade York misses 2 attempts at a field goal, and then it just ended in a tie. Let's start with our top takeaways from that game. I'll go with you, Rob. What did you take away from that boring preseason game?
I took one thing away. Marcus Mariota can't play. He can't throw the ball. He cannot throw. He's not close on the – it's not like – he's missing them by a step. He is overthrowing, underthrow. He's throwing everywhere but to the receiver. Look, they're obviously to go into the regular season, they're going to have him listed at number 2. But Dives' boy keeps playing Tanner McKee. I don't see where the fall off is right now between Mariota and Tanner McKee. Like, it's unbelievable, how much – I mean, look, he could throw for a little bit, Mariota. Now I don't know what the hell is going on, if he's too much in his head or whatnot. But it was bad. The offense was stagnant, like you said, in the first half. It was really boring to watch the game. I thought early on it was exactly what Dives had said. The Eagles dominated them all week, and the Browns came out and tried to punch them in the mouth. But overall, it was a preseason game. There wasn't a lot of this game that I go, oh, that's intriguing. It was just a boring-ass preseason game.
Yeah, I had a 2-year-old, a 4-year-old, first games they've ever gone to, and then my 8-year-old who's been to a few, and I couldn't get a damn touchdown in the first half. I had to, drag them through halftime. Like, we got to sing the fight song once, and fortunately they opened it up. But to your point here, I just wanted to bring up these stats, preseason stats. Tanner McKee, 20 of 38, 295 yards, 1 touchdown, 87.1 quarterback rating. Mariota, 16 for 28, 144 yards, 1 pick, 56.2 rating. I do think we have to put into, Tanner McKee's playing against the 3rd, 4th string guys, and Marcus Mariota's probably playing against the 2s, maybe some 1s. But that doesn't change the fact that he cannot throw, missing wide open receivers or just totally off on covered receivers. I agree he's going to end up being number 2. And I think if they do move on, I don't think McKee would be moved into 2. They'd go find another veteran. But it is glaring how bad Marcus Mariota has been. Dives, what's your takeaway from the last preseason game against the Browns?
And to be fair, how many drops has Tanner McKee suffered these last 2 weeks too? Those stats would be even better. I mean, he even missed a wide open touchdown that's missing on his stat line there. That should have been a touchdown. But yeah, it's Tanner McKee. Tanner McKee has been everything. I waited week 1. I wanted to kind of see how it went. But after week 2, I got to pat myself on the back because I did a show with Shane and Mark months ago where Tanner McKee was a part of my guys for the 2023 NFL draft. And my God, does that look pretty good right now? Just kind of tooting my own horn there. But McKee, man, he's been everything. His pocket presence, his touch, his ball placement, poise, it's been off the charts. His ability to step into pressure and make good throws. There's nothing really else you can say. He is quarterback two of this offense, at least in my frame. I agree, Rob. Like in a pinch, they'll probably go to Mariota if they have to. But I think the Eagles have a real discussion here because McKee has won this again and again and again. And the other takeaway I have is Nick Sirianni not playing the starters. And that was such a good call. When you saw guy after guy after guy fall, get carted off the field again and again, like, can you imagine if that was some of the starters? Is there anything more overrated than the NFL preseason? That was the right call. So I'm glad Nick Sirianni had the stones to say, nah, no thanks. And let's move on to week one.
Even in practice, see James Bradbury here. What's this kid's name? Tanner McKee. Yeah, he looks really good. I didn't know much about him coming into training camp and stuff, but he's definitely putting me on notice coming from James Bradbury in practice. And we did touch on that. Is the preseason dead? I mean, Kobe Dean got 17 snaps. That was good to see, and then caused a fumble. Rye, what would you take away from that game?
Yeah, listen, to kind of reiterate what everybody's saying, the preseason's terrible. I mean, it's not for anybody that's going to be on this roster, really. It's for those back-end guys that need to make a name for themselves, need to make a play, rookies that need to show that they can, come in and be in the NFL. So, yeah, I was down there as well with my son. It's our, annual tradition. He's 7, and listen, I was proud of him. He made it to the third quarter, the end of the third. Each year we're getting a little bit longer, but I wish I would have had a little bit more excitable moments for him there. But listen, as far as the QB is concerned, Mariota is obviously the number 2. He may not, look like it. He may look like he doesn't know how to play the quarterback position right now. But I think, give it a month, a few weeks, maybe some garbage time he can get in there. I don't foresee us ever seeing Tanner McKee in the game unless it's, we've already locked up number 1 seed and, we got a couple of weeks and Mariota's tired or something, But, listen, I'm just kind of praying that Mariota just needs a little bit more time to adjust to the new, system, the new plays, the new, coordinators, coaches, etc., his teammates. That's the only bright spot I can hope and pray on at this point. But McKee looks like a guy. Quarterback factory once again.
Definitely does. Another factor is, by all accounts, all the beat writers, Tanner McKee gets none of the reps in practice either. So it would be interesting to see if they can at least give him a try with those. But I don't know if they'll experiment on that or not. One other underrated takeaway from the game is the Eagles had 5 different punt and kick returners, 3 different punt returners and 2 different kick returners, which tells me Britton Covey might be on the bubble here, because if they're looking to fill that role, they're trying different guys. They also signed Freddie Swain today, another punt returner, kick returner type guy. It was just a takeaway that I noticed that, hey, they're definitely looking to see if they can find someone to upgrade that spot.
Mm-hmm.
So let's jump into our player of the game. We'll review that real quick from last week, and then we'll dive into our cuts.
Mm-hmm.
You got that, Dives, by chance?
I got it right here. Sorry. We got an interesting comment. I didn't know how to respond to that one. All right, go ahead.
So last week, Rob had Greg Ward as his player of the game. I had Tyree Cleveland, who I'm pretty sure I'm the reason for his injury, picking that. Ryan had Keely Ringo, and Dives took the layup. So I can't even give him credit because it was a lock. But yeah, if we were to rank them, I don't know how we would rank them. I feel like
we had 4 catches or 3 or something.
Yeah, it would go.
We'll go Rob next.
Come on, guys! Kennedy Brooks the first week. Give me
something. Let's go. Let's give Rob some love here.
No, definitely. Ward, and I know Tyree had 1 catch for 4 yards and he got hurt. Did Ringo get burned again though multiple times?
Yeah, it wasn't a good day for
I thought Ringo had flashes in the game.
Yeah, I
and then
thought he did better for sure.
Then put me last then.
Yes.
Wow, he's real quick to pull.
Well,
that.
because Freddie guy injured the guy, so I mean you can't be not last if you injured a guy.
That's true. That's true. You did injure the guy.
Right. And I just gave everybody 1 point for the predictions. We were all even there. That's pretty interesting.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then as far as picks for the game, me and Dives went with the Browns. Ryan and Rob went with the Eagles, but it was a tie.
We're
So
all wrong.
as they were saying, like you tell your kids in soccer, we all won. We all won. So before we get into the Colts, I just want to do a couple updates on some Eagles signings and releases. After that game, the Eagles waived Zech McPherson, Tyree Cleveland, and Noah Ellis. All three are expected to be back on via the IR. They had to waive them, go through waivers, and then they'll be able to be on injured reserve. But they outed and released Greedy Williams and punter Ty Zettner, though I don't think the punter thing is over yet. There's a ton of teams with 2 punters that are be releasing punters that they may go after. The Eagles also signed Quentin Bell, Robert Cooper, Caleb Sanders, Tyreek Maddox Williams, all camp bodies with a lot of injuries and starters not playing. Defensive tackle Marvin Wilson is a name that's been here, played 2 games, I think 1 in 21, 1 in 22. And then they signed wide receiver Freddie Swain, who I actually really liked out of college. I thought he was very similar to Wes Welker as far as skill set goes. Obviously, he's not that in the pros, but he can return kicks. So they were the main signings. They also released left tackle Fred Johnson today as well, which changes the offensive line perspective as well. So
don't forget, Freddie, Miles Jack retired.
I forgot about that. Thank you, Rob.
Guy just retires.
He stinks. He stinks.
Yeah,
He can't play.
Well, you could tell he was talking about he was ready to become a plumber or whatever it was, contractor. I think it was plumber or electrician it might have been. His head wasn't fully there. And then as soon as Zach Cunningham started getting the first team reps, I think he was just like, yeah, I'm done. I made a couple grand here these last 3 weeks. Let me jump into the trades. So let's go into in Tuesday, the 29th, will be when the Eagles due to have their 53-man roster. So we're going to jump into position groups. And let's start this let's go with the wide receiver group first. I think it's very interesting there. We have a ton of wide receivers. Will they keep 5? Will they keep 6? And Ryan, why don't you dive into your 5 or 6 or whoever you pick to start, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, this is basically a question of how many they're going to want to keep on the roster because, I think that the back end of the wide receiver group, I think there's a mixture of, a lot of really good receivers. And unfortunately, Tyree Cleveland was one of them, got hurt, and hopefully he'll be put back onto IR. But, yes, so I have a couple of easy ones, obviously, here, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Quez Watkins, Zacchaeus, and then I chose Britton Covey. I know, as you mentioned, they're bringing in a couple of guys. They're trying guys here. I think they're just trying to find another returner that can work for them. So I truly believe that Covey will make the team as the returner. Devin Allen, and Ngata, Ward. I mean, some of these guys are certainly deserved. And I really do hope they end up sticking either on the practice squad or somehow, close to the organization. So, but yeah, I only have them making 5 full 53-man roster wide receivers.
Nice. I think we all will agree that A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Quez Watkins, and Alameda Zacchaeus are pretty much locks. It's just that 5th or 6th.
Yeah, exactly. And whether or not, Covey is their guy. And, again, if they decided to keep a 6, I think there's a couple of guys that could end up being in that position. Ngata, Ward, are probably the leaders right there. But, yeah, I just think they, maybe want to focus some of the roster spots elsewhere where they have a little bit, better depth and can utilize that better for the roster.
Rob, thoughts on the wide receiver group?
Yeah, I mean, I think like you guys said, the first four are in. I'll be interested to see, do they give Freddie Swain this option of returning and see how well he does this week? And does that, obviously they're not set on Britton Covey, hence why they had 4 or 5 different guys, like you said, back there last week. I probably would expect to see the same. It's probably going to take someone jumping above the rest to beat out Britton Covey because they know what they have in him. Look, by the end of the year last year, everyone complained about Britton Covey, but he was sure-handed for the most part. I think the last 3 or 4 weeks he was like top 8 or 9 in yards per punt return. So, he didn't do a terrible job. I just think people were afraid his life was going to end because I just felt like every time he returned the ball, he got absolutely murdered by someone. So the only, like I said, I mean, do they keep 6? I doubt it. They very rarely done that. So then the question becomes, are they just keeping a guy for a returner spot at that point?
Yeah, and I think another thing about Britton Covey that we're forgetting is he hasn't practiced all camp. He's been hurt the entire time. So that doesn't help him any either to be able to give himself in the running. So he may, like I said, they're probably just trying guys out. If he wasn't pretty much a lock to make it, they would have picked someone on the roster. They're just looking. I agree. Dives, what about your boy Ngata, my old boy Ngata? You think he makes the roster? You think that you agree with this? What are your thoughts?
I think Ryan is spot on. And that's probably the first and last time I'll ever give him some sort of positive comment.
Wow.
I think this is the 5. I think Britton is a lock. I think Oz showed you some nice blocks during the preseason, and any guy that can, help out and run support is going to get whatever snaps remaining on the back end of this wide receiver position. And God is a nice story. I hope they can find a way to hide him on the practice squad. Deion Kane, I thought was probably the biggest loser of last weekend. His drops were really frustrating to watch. I'm a big Deion Kane guy. So I think this is spot on.
Spot on. And the spot to get tickets, Sherry'sTickets.com. Go to www.Sherry'sTickets.com. Sports, concerts, theater, great prices, no hidden fees. Save 10% with the promo code EOP10. Just last week, I watched the preseason prices drop 2 hours before the game, grabbed tickets about, 14 rows off the field, $25 each, and then I got 10% off with the promo code EOP10. Go to Sherry'sTickets.com. Go to the Eagles preseason game tomorrow night. Bring your kids. Leave at halftime. Save money. Let's now jump into this. These are all interesting, and we could go over. I think every position group you could make an interesting case. Let's go running back here. Are the Eagles going to keep 3, 4, 5? Rob, you took the honor of the running backs. How's it going to lay out?
Well, look, there's these rumors out there that the Eagles are seriously considering cutting Rashad Penny. No, they're not going to do that. And by the way, the rumors that were out there early in camp that Kenny Gainwell is going to be the lead back. No, he's not. These things are all rumors. Now, it's funny because what I would do is different than what I'm going to say the Eagles would do. The 4 that I'd keep for the Eagles is obviously Swift, Penny, Gainwell, or that I think they're going to keep Gainwell and Scott, I think is the 4 they're going to keep. Me, I know everyone loves the Boston Scott story and the giant killer and all of that stuff. I would let Boston Scott go at this point because you're keeping him. It almost feels like he's that guy you're keeping around because you just feel like you love him. I would rather than keep Trey Sermon. Give this kid a shot. I mean, look, I know he had the fumble the other night, but he also showed you what else he can do. I think, did they have him return some punts the other night as well?
Trey Sermon, yes.
Like Boston Scott, it's a nice story. I like the guy. I always love that he scores like when they play the Giants, I always bet Boston Scott to score a touchdown. Doesn't matter. But I would rather them keep Trey Sermon. But I think at the end of the day, the Eagles are going to do what the Eagles are going to do. and it'll be Scott over Sermon, and they're going to hope that Sermon maybe makes his way back to the practice squad.
Yep.
I agree with you, Rob. He's actually my preseason cut was Boston Scott, and I think it is time to move on. And you could probably get him back on the practice squad as well. Ryan, how do you feel about the running backs?
Yeah, I think with the top three there, you have a nice three-headed monster there. And yeah, listen, Boston Scott, you're right. It's a cute story. There's a lot of nostalgia with it. The whole Giants thing, it's great. It's all that. But honestly, outside of 2 games a year, what does Boston Scott really do when you have 3 other running backs that are clearly ahead of him in the depth chart? So, yeah, listen, I'm with you. I kind of would want to see more from Trey Sermon. I agree that they'll do exactly what you're saying. They'll keep Boston Scott, and let's hope we can hide Trey Sermon on the practice squad and see what happens. But listen, it's I don't see it going any other way.
And I just think you can't keep 4, or even definitely can't keep 5. I mean, the running back position is not – we have other positions that we need people, and to hold 4 or 5 is just too much. Dibes, your thoughts on the running back?
Yeah, you guys nailed it. They're going to go with Boston Scott, and unfortunately, I think that's the wrong move. I thought one of the fun stories of the Browns game was kind of that redemption touchdown by Trey Sermon. I think he fumbled it, right? And then came back, and you had Jalen Hurts kind of in his ear, and kind of a nice comeback there. I agree with everything you guys said. Boston Scott he's kind of redundant when you have a DeAndre Swift, when you have a Kenny Gainwell, third down backs that can give you something in the passing game. They're good receivers, better receivers we have ever seen. And I do expect Kenny Gainwell to take another step forward as a receiver. But that was kind of Boston Scott's role. And why not bring in Trey Sermon, a guy that can that's the fun. I guarantee you, we would probably be having a different discussion if you didn't put that ball on the ground, because that's definitely the biggest hesitation. They can't have guys coming in and fumbling the football. I would go Trey Sermon, but I understand the Boston Scott take as well, just for the sake of having a veteran on a very young team that's got some spots with a lot of youth, especially depth-wise. So for me, I would go Sermon, and I think you're spot on.
What they definitely can't do is go with 5. It will be absolutely criminal, and I got the person for that as well. CherryInjuryLaw.com. David R. Cherry, Esquire. Call him now, 610-565-0300. Workers' compensation, motor vehicle accidents, personal injury, criminal law, and keeping 5 running backs in a league that doesn't need running backs because they grow on trees. Jumping into our next position, we are going to move into another hot and heavy one, the cornerback position. Dives. How is the cornerback spot going to shake up? It's coming down to the wire. Injuries might have saved someone. Zach McPherson on the IR just added a spot.
I think he saved Nick Sirianni's ass, to be honest, because there have been some really interesting decisions to make had McPherson not been cut, because the depth at this position is really interesting. You look at guys I'm keeping: D. Slay, Bradbury, Maddox. I think Josh Jobe won it. The second Greedy Williams was cut. That was kind of the battle there. So Josh Jobe is an absolute lock. Keely Ringo, I thought, had flashes throughout camp, even though he got beat. That size, the versatility, the upside down the road is just too much. And he was a 4th-round pick. He's going to make this team. So there's that. The guy I'm going with, and this is debatable, but I'm going with Mario Goodrich as my last corner to make this team. And that's mainly because of McPherson and that injury. They need a backup slot corner. Goodrich has gotten significant amount of snaps throughout camp at that spot. So I think this is Goodrich's spot to lose. So you also have 2 other guys in Mekhi Garner and Eli Ricks who have both had flashes themselves. And I think once we get into the Colts, that's going to be a storyline I'll be talking about. But for me, Mario Goodrich gets the nod at that last cornerback spot. And I hope they can get Eli Ricks on that practice squad because his upside is also really intriguing.
Dodds, I think you absolutely nailed Goodrich in the slot. They've been working him at safety too in that nickel spot. No doubt about it. I think he makes it. Josh Jobe, I think, is a lock. I do think Mekhi Gardner could make his way on there. I think he outplayed Eli Ricks, actually. I think Eli Ricks' interception were overshadowing the quarterback he was going against and who they were playing. But a guy that, like, was a big undrafted free agent type guy, Josiah Scott, didn't really show up last year. But at one time, we really were about him. So I think he'll be gone as well. Rob, what's your thoughts on the cornerback?
Yeah, I'm going off of some things that I've read. This team seems to be high on Eli Ricks, maybe higher than all of us. I mean, I'm not, to me, he's whatever. I would love to see what Dives has. I would love to see Mario Goodrich make this team. I think Josh Jobe has absolutely proven himself to be on this roster. And what I love about this is these young guys, these Goodriches, these Jobes, these Ringos, can learn from Darius Slay, James Bradbury, Avonte Maddox, veterans in this league who have been doing it at a high level for a long time. And listen, I think you guys hit on the head. You need a backup slot because as good as Avonte Maddox has been, he struggled to stay healthy. And they've had to do some really weird things in season when he's been knocked out. So you want a guy that you could just kind of plug and play for, lack of a better term. I'd love to see this. I'm really hoping everything I'm reading about their love for Eli Ricks is overblown because I'd rather see, this 6 go forward.
And they've also in camp, obviously not in the preseason, they've had Bradbury at the slot quite often. So they are worried about that spot to try him out there. Because imagine you move Bradbury to the slot and now Job's on the outside starting. That might be the answer, but you definitely need someone with experience like Goodrich.
And I will add Keely Ringo, Eli Ricks, they don't have the hips. They don't have the smooth athleticism to play in that slot. I don't think so. That is clearly Mario Goodrich's role on this team. And that's why I went with him.
Ryan, anything along the corners?
Yeah, no, I think you nailed it. As much as I think everybody likes the Eli Ricks and the Gardner during the preseason, I just don't think, as you say, they're not quite there yet. That don't think they have enough to kick Jobe or Goodrich out of the roster spots. But I do like their potential development. So I hope that we're able to again push them to the practice squad, both of those guys, and keep them. Josiah Scott, get the kick rocks, bro. But yeah, no, I like the potential of Jobe and Goodrich, and again, Keely I think has a lot of work to do, but still I think he's a very promising young corner in this league, and he's going to be able to learn from two of the best.
Let's move on to my position of choice, what I played as a kid, the offensive line. Is the depth in question, and how many linemen will the Eagles keep? And I have them keeping 9. And the funny part is I'm already wrong, but I'm going to double down, though. I'm going to double down. So I was brought to my attention that Fred Johnson was actually cut, but I'm going with Kelsey, Juergens, Dickerson, Johnson, Mailata. They're the obvious starters. I think you need a backup center. Brett Toth has proven he can't do it. The Eagles do not like to move positions around. So if the center goes down, Kelsey goes down, they don't like moving Juergens to center and then now having 2 holes to kind of adjust to, especially mid-game. They like to get a week of practice under their belt. For that reason, I think Josh Andrews makes this team to have a backup center for that alone. Tyler Seen, obviously, great early round pick. He's not going to get cut. They have him playing left tackle and guard. For the future, he's supposed to be the guard going forward, but he does have experience at left tackle, but not at the pro level. Driscoll, we've seen it year after year. He had a rough couple rough camp days, but we know the experience he's had. They've been able to move him, very versatile. He's all over. This gets me to Fred Johnson, who the Eagles just cut, I think, like 2 hours ago. But I'm going to double down on this. I think he's the only left tackle that they could possibly bring back. He's a veteran, 5 years in this league, played for the Bengals, 28, 29 games. something like that. I think this is a typical Howie move where he cuts a guy right before the final set of preseason games. It's 24 hours till you can pick them up. No one's going to pick them up to play in a game at that time when they're playing their last set of players. So don't be surprised if the Eagles make their cuts after they see who they got to see in this game, and Fred Johnson's back on this roster on Friday. Other cuts, Sua Opeta, he had promise at one time. I just don't think we have enough spots. Dennis Kelly, another guy we brought back, a veteran in this league. Josh Sills, I had some high hopes. He had that first preseason game he played, he looked great, but he's looked worse since then. They probably can get him back on the practice squad with all the legal stuff. The league still hasn't ruled on that. Brett Toth ruined his job by not being able to snap the ball. And then the other guys are just good, young guys, Good Jones, Tom, Robinson, and Johnson, that maybe will come back on the practice squad. But that's where I'm at on the offensive line. I think it's important to keep 9 just because we don't have the depth. Like Andre Dillard was a first-round pick last year and a reserve. We had players like that of that caliber. We don't have that right now. Rye, what's your take on the O-line?
Yeah, I mean this is tough. I mean, obviously the top end are fantastic and the best unit in the league here. The Andrews choice makes sense. Toth, again, I thought before camp, I thought he was an easy make on this team, but yeah, he really struggled this camp and really has not looked good. The only other person I think might be up for debate is obviously it makes sense with the Fred Johnson move, cutting him and then hoping you kind of hide him with the game and bring him back. But yeah, it's still tough to you got Opeta, Kelly, Sills. Those are all really good offensive linemen that I feel like can be productive backups in this league. So there's either way you cut it. I think there's going to be a 2 or 3 really tough cuts here throughout the Eagles offensive line.
One thing I forgot to add is Fred Johnson is the only, left tackle that's a pure left tackle, and that's the main reason I put him there. Everyone else is kind of move around, so I forgot to add that. Dibes, your take on the O-line?
I don't really know. This is the one position I don't really have a good feel with. I'll be honest. I think, those last 2 spots, could go in a variety of different directions. I think Driscoll's a good bet. I think Dennis Kelly is not a lock, but I mean, he's definitely a guy. Josh Sills really struggled. Brett Toth had moments of really struggling. Good Jones is definitely on the bubble as well. So I think the top are locks, but like those last 2 spots, I'm just not sure. And I think that's probably one of the top positions to watch against the Colts. It's I mean, Jeff Stoutland, I trust. He's going to make a good choice. Like Opeta is a good one. At least he's got that veteran experience, as I mentioned before, at the other position. So if I had to guess, they would probably go Jack Driscoll, and I'll go. Oh man, I don't know. I'll go. Yeah, I'll go. Let's go Kelly. I'll go Dennis Kelly.
Dennis Kelly. Rob, were you a lineman by chance?
No. I played a little D-line as a freshman.
The shoulders. Through the cat. I never met you.
My father was a big-time defensive lineman, and I got his shoulders. I wasn't as tough as him. I was basically a wimp, so that was not me. But I do, my dad did teach me a long time ago to watch in preseason. If you're going to watch anything, watch the lines play. I actually believe the Eagles may keep 10 offensive linemen. I really do. I think that's something that they've done in the past that they like to do. I don't think a guy like Sua Opeta gets cut. I think that they like his presence. I think they like him as a backup. I would almost say that he's almost a lock to make the roster. And then from there, do they bring Fred Johnson back? Is it Dennis Kelly? I would say it's probably Dennis Kelly. I'll lean. Like you said, Sills and Toth, there was a lot of upside, but you don't know what's happening with the legal issues with Sills. Toth hasn't played that great. So I'll say that Opeta's in for Johnson, and then they keep an additional, and I'll give it to Dennis Kelly.
Yeah, 10 is definitely an option as well. And, a lot of those guys we name like Sills and Toth can end up on the practice squad as well. So there's probably a method to their madness there if they do end up getting released. But I do have a spot where we can go to travel to see all these games and players, and that is phillysportstrips.com. Check it out. They got trips everywhere, every single Eagles game, Philly, Sixers, Flyers. They are the official sports trip company of the Union as well. But Birds in Tampa, LA, buses to the Jets, Washington, the cool one that I really like, the hockey series. They got the Stadium Series. Flyers are playing the Devils at MetLife. They already got that London trip to go see the Phillies next June. That would go see London and then see the Phillies play the Mets. But one I think is really cool that, for anyone listening that's, not in the Philadelphia area, but loves the Eagles, Birds Fly Home. They have an actual trip where they set it up that you can travel to Philadelphia as if it's a road game, but you get to see the Eagles play the Cowboys December 5th at 4:25. Hotel transportation to the game, Q&A event with former players, a tailgate party, breakfast in the hotel. They're top of the line as well. So go to phillysportstrips.com and book a trip today. All right, guys. So we're almost wrapping up here. We're about to jump into Colts, Eagles preseason tomorrow night. We don't expect many starters. I guess let's jump into a bubble player that, you think's on the bubble that this game might get them on this roster. And we'll start with you, Ryan.
Yeah, I mean this is tough. I'll stick to the kind of the wide receivers, as that's what I was talking about earlier. And I think Ngata is kind of my bubble guy, where I think, again, the decision to keep 5 or 6, I think, is right there. If they do go with 6, Greg Ward, the old, the vet, is there, who clearly, seems to be gelling well with some of our backup quarterbacks, as he seems to get the ball thrown to him about 100 times. And every single time he gets the ball thrown, I'm like, throw it to anybody else. Like, we know what Greg Ward is. Stop it. Like, enough. But again, that's a good quality to have. He's pretty reliable and as for a back end guy. But yeah, I really want to see Ngata kind of step up and really have a game. Because I think if he comes out and balls out and, gets himself, a couple of nice catches, maybe gets in the end zone, I think, that'll at least kind of push the Eagles brass to make that decision on whether or not to keep 6 and whether or not it should be him. So I'm looking forward to him pushing to make a tough decision.
Yeah, Ngata was definitely a camp guy that was like that star. We didn't really see much in the preseason. Had a bad a drop, and then he had what should have been a touchdown. But he didn't need to get keep his feet in the back of the end zone. If he can show out, he'll probably get a ton of playing time. That's a good one. I'm going to go to the defensive line, and I'm going to go with Kentavious Street. He's been in this league. This will be his 5th year. He had 3.5 sacks here for the Saints, 3 sacks the year before. I think he has the build, what they want from a defensive lineman. He's had a great camp. We haven't seen much from him in the actual preseason games. If he can show out tonight, I think he's a player that could find his way on the roster if he has a great game. Who's yours, Rob?
See, it's hard for me to pick a player, but the one position I'm watching, because it's been really interesting, I feel like, all preseason, is that safety position. How is it going to shake out? They brought in a couple of these veterans at the beginning of the offseason, but then you had the surprises, right? You had the way Kevon Wallace played. You've had the way that Sidney Brown has played. So do they keep 1 or 2 of these veterans? I mean, does Justin Evans make this team? I think they did that thinking there was no way Kevon Wallace was even going to be possible at this point. And now I think it's more than possible. So I really want to watch that position. And if you want me to pick a player, I'll say a guy like a Justin Evans, because I think he is directly related to Kevon Wallace and what Kevon Wallace is doing as far as whether or not he makes his team. They're probably going to keep maybe 4 safeties, maybe 5. And you figure, Cindy Brown's not going anywhere. I feel like Terrell Edmonds is probably going to be on this roster. So it'll be really interesting. So I'll put a veteran on there and say a guy like Justin Evans, does he end up making this roster or not?
Rob, they actually have him running with the ones. So you're spot on there. There's a chance he could. They're saying he could start potentially too. He's been back and forth. Like he could go from cut to start. And if he has a stunning game, he's making moves. That's a great call on Justin Evans. Dives, I know you initially wanted to do all the D-backs. What's your thoughts on the safety as well?
Yeah, I'm right there with Rob. It's if there's like one position to watch, it starts with Anthony Richardson's actually going to play in this game. So I'm excited to see what he's going to do. And what is this guy known for? I mean, he could, perhaps have an overthrow, and that could go into the hands of one of these young Eagles defensive backs. So I'm looking at Mekhi Garner. I'm looking at Eli Ricks, Sidney Brown, Justin Evans. You said it. Kayvon Wallace has been playing his ass off. And he's definitely turned the corner. There's no doubt about it. All those guys are like kind of up in the air at this point. So for me, it's hard to pick one of those guys. I could easily go Goodrich, but give me Eli Ricks. Eli pick six Ricks to be a guy to maybe perhaps pick off an Anthony Richardson errant throw and bring it to the house. So I'm going to go Eli Ricks.
Nice. Rye, who's your bubble guy? Oh, we already talked and got it. My fault. So let's go into who the star of the game is now. Eagles Colts preview and predictions. That up here. Sorry, I'm trying to get this stupid banner off.
So I think we should make a rule that you can't pick the same player 3 weeks in a row.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, that's what I'm definitely going to do.
I'll go last. I'll make it fair, a little bit more fair for you guys, and go last.
I'm going to go first then, and I'm going to go a guy. I don't think that's going to make the team, but I think he's going to be on the receiving end of a bunch of passes, and that's Jaden Hazelwood. He's all over the field, in my opinion, open, making plays, playing against third, fourth stringers, mind you. But I think he has the potential for a 5 catches, 80 yards, and a touchdown type game. Ryan, let's go with you next since it's already on there anyway.
Yeah. Listen, I'll stick with my my bubble guy. I'll go Ngata. I really am kind of rooting for this kid, and I think he has a real good chance to make this roster if things work out for him tomorrow night.
Rob?
I'm not going to make my week 1 mistake, okay? But what I am – I started this show saying I'd rather the Eagles keep Trey Sermon over Boston Scott. So with that, I'm going Trey Sermon this week, baby. Perfect. I'm going Trey Sermon to have himself a week and to make them have to say, dude, is it time to get rid of the nostalgia of Boston Scott?
You don't think Kennedy Brooks is going to go off in the second half?
No, I'm not. We're picking Kennedy Brooks again. So disappointed.
So, Dives, just go ahead and say Tanner McKee. We left you the layup.
Yeah. I don't know. Let me think about this. I'm not going to do that again because you guys are going to have a hissy fit. And I don't want to.
I think you called this guy way before.
You did.
You get to take this in preseason, I think.
They're nice. They're nice, Dives. I think it would be a ridiculous move. Oh, man, I'm glad your daughter popped her out on the screen because I was going to say a bad word.
Oh, she's so cute.
Wow, saved by the kid.
I got to go. There's only one way I can go here. It's possibly his last game as an Eagle. I've been probably arguably his biggest fan among at least us here, maybe in all of Philadelphia.
Jalen Rager's gone, Dives. He's not here anymore.
Yeah, he's not here.
I'm gonna go Greg Ward as my preseason week 3 winner. Just a nice salute to the man, the myth, the legend, Greg Ward.
Yeah. Talk about nostalgia needing to get the hell out of here.
You think he can make his way back on the practice squad again?
I think there's a chance he makes this roster, to be honest.
It's possible.
There's definitely a 10% chance that they want veteran leadership, and Greg Ward's the final spot.
And if they keep two quarterbacks, he's a quarterback, so he could be an emergency quarterback as well, which may play into that too. And he returns punts. So
wow, we really went 3 wide receivers this week. That's crazy. Great pick, by the way, Rob, because I was going to go Trey Sermon initially.
All right, let's get to who's going to win, who's going to lose. I'm going to pick the Eagles to lose again. Anthony Richardson is playing. I think that's a benefit to them. I don't really want them to win. I feel like teams that win in the preseason don't win in the regular season. So I just pick them. My fault. The Colts are going to win. My fault. I want the Colts to win. The Colts will win.
Colts. There you
go. Yeah, I agree. Colts it up. They're going to be playing, more of the starters. They got a lot of younger guys on the team that are, they need to kind of figure out. So, yeah, I just think just because of that and the fact that we're not going to be playing any starters, it's going to be a hard uphill climb. And yeah, I'm with you, Freddie. I don't like winning in the preseason. I think it means so little that I don't like it.
Yeah, and if this is a game where we're going to get a lot of Ian Book, there's no chance. There's no chance.
Great point. If Ian Book played, I forgot he was still on the roster.
I know, right? How did he not already get cut?
He stinks. Ryan.
The worst.
All right, Rob, who you going with?
Listen, I would love to make it 4 for 4, but it's just not in my nature. I'm not going to do that. But also, these sons of bitches came in here and started cheap shotting our players, and Jason Kelce got in their ass. There's a little bit of fire on this team after this nonsense this week. Go Birds! They're going to win this week.
Too bad the guys with the fire won't be on the field.
No.
Did you hear the guy? I forget the guy who hit him. I know he's like from LaSalle or around the area. He's like, he grew up with all this respect for Kelce, but he thought he would look him eye to eye, but he'll see him on the field tomorrow night. And everyone's like, you idiot. Kelce isn't going to see the field tomorrow night. You crazy?
Yeah.
So that'll wrap it up for tonight. It's about 6:50 now. Let's start with Rob. Where can everyone find you? Imoni Bentley, go Birds. Thanks for listening. Please hit that like and subscribe button. Share us out. Appreciate the support. Rob, where can everyone find you?
You find me right here on Party on Brawl with you guys. Love hanging out with you every week. I will be here every week. Catch me on Twitter. Every now and again, I just throw something out. I have not been as active on Twitter over the course of the last year. My guess is that will start to change here as the Eagles pick it up. I had to take a 1-year hiatus, I feel like, because it was just making me angrier. But I'm ready to come back.
Nice. I'm looking forward to trolling you a little bit. So I'm all in for that. Ryan Reese, Philly Sports Alliance. What do you got going on?
Yeah, just the same old as we always do at the Philly Sports Alliance shows throughout the week. Make sure you give us a like, follow, share, especially YouTube, especially Facebook. Put on the automatic notifications. That way you get all of the Philly Sports Alliance shows, and you also get all of the Edge of Philly sports shows. So plenty of content coming through. The automatic notifications let you know right away when we're live. So best way to do it. And then I also need to say that if you guys aren't following everybody else here, what are you guys doing? These guys do some amazing things. Rob actually just lives here. Like, he doesn't leave. He just stays there and he pops back up when we start doing other shows. So
yeah, literally, I don't move from this spot.
Right. He wasn't kidding. But yeah, honestly, these guys are amazing at what they do. So kudos. I'm just honored to be even a part of this. So thank you.
And go follow Ryan Reese at Philly Sports PSA. He has a ton of amazing tweets and amazing content. He knows his stuff, Eagles, all sports, really. Dibes, what 100,000 things do you want to say right now?
My goodness. I've already done like 4 shows this week at least. So go check out our new NFL Draft Weekly show. Me and Ryan are doing NFL Draft previews, top matchups, prospects to watch every single week. It'll be on Mondays at 9. So you're going to get double Party on Broad for the foreseeable futures, which is pretty cool. That's the big one. I'm not doing post game tomorrow. I'm going to take a break. What's up, Quentin? I'm going to take a break. I will be doing biggest winners shorts and highlight reels, top guys, all plays, all snaps, highlight reels, all that kind of stuff. But man, I'm just so glad to have college football back. Football on Saturdays is the best. So some fun games this week. We've got Caleb Williams, who's going to put on a show. I'm not sure how much he's going to play because I think USC is going to go up, 28-0 after the first quarter, and that's probably it for that dude. But college football's back. If you love the NFL draft, we have covered so many guys, 118 prospects already, and we're just getting started. So check us out Mondays at 9. It's going to be a lot of fun. Oh, BGN Draft Radio. BGN. We're also doing that. That's we don't do that live, but those drop Wednesdays, 4:00, 5:00. It was 4:00 today because I'm now producing a new show called Killing Me Smalls Podcast to help out my man Mike. He has some of the best guests in the game, so get ready for that. And Jonathan Taylor will not be coming to the Eagles. I'll leave it at that.
I know, Dave. You got me checking Twitter real quick, or X, whatever it's called.
I know, right?
I'm like, dude, we got break.
Never gonna happen. Never gonna happen.
I mean, they're not gonna pay.
Straight up.
I don't understand. I really don't understand even the combo. But you can find me at Freddie Burns _. You can find me right here, Party on Broad, 6 p.m. Find me on Twitter, tweeting all 4 sports, and then at 8:30 EOP Live right here on this network as well. And stay tuned in about 6 minutes. Philly Sports Trips, Philly Press Box Radio. Bill and Jim Chesko have a live show at 7 p.m. They have Brian Cameron on from the Flipping the Birds podcast. Nice. Great guests there. They have a great guest every single week. Give them a follow or like, and watch all the shows here on the Edge of Philly Sports Network. We got a ton of guests, ton of content. Go follow us on YouTube. Hit that like, smash that subscribe. For Dives, Ryan, and Rob, I am Freddie Burns, and we will see you next week. Go Birds!
Go Birds!
Go Birds!